So I'm afraid such is my technical expertise that I have to continue now with an audio recording. Uh, and it's a feat that you can tell that I live without a cell phone and in simple conditions because I can't even manage a short video to you. But what I was in the middle of saying was that I love the fact that these brilliant days of autumn, which are the brightest and most cloudless of the year, speak for the coming of the cold and dark, and speak for the necessity of sustaining within ourselves that sense of joyfulness and impermanence in the same breath. And when I wrote that book, Autumn Light, I was keenly aware that books need all the help they can get. They were sat at the center of the culture when I began writing in the 1980s, and now they seem very marginal. So I came up with this crazy and rather mischievous idea of writing an absolutely contradictory book at the same time to come out from the same publisher in the same year. And I rather craftily called it a beginner's guide to Japan, knowing that the poor innocent reader might imagine that this was a book written for beginners. And if he or she didn't open the first page, she wouldn't know that actually it's a book written by beginners, and it's probably no use at all to anybody coming to Japan. Because honestly, I feel I don't know a thing about this country, and I certainly know far less than I suspected I knew when I came here 37 years ago. And I should say, by way of correction, at the beginning of my video, I said I was barely out of my 30s when I wrote The Lady and the Monk. Of course, I was barely out of my 20s. I was tremendously immature and undeveloped there, and basically just a clueless kid, so clueless that I assumed I knew it all. At this point, I feel I do know my wife and my kids because I've been with them for 37 and a half years. I do know this neighborhood because I've been here 32 years, and I do know my ping pong club and its members because I've been playing regularly with them for 21 years, but I don't feel I know much about Japan as a whole. And so I thought the best way I could try to approach Japan was to bring out two books almost as brother and sister. And one, of course, Autumn Light, is a narrative trying to offer an insider's perspective from somebody who lives tightly within a family, a community, and a neighborhood. And the other, The Beginner's Guide, is really a series of tweets or koans or micro essays of the kind that might be concocted by somebody who had just arrived in Tokyo last night. And I'm sure all of you know that if you were to write about India or your hometown or your mother, you might well want to mix the internal and the external perspective, because of course an insider sits on knowledge that no outsider can never catch, but at the same time an outsider can see things that no local ever can. And so I thought with this twinned books I would try to speak to the two sides of my life in Japan. One, the forever outsider who lives on a tourist visa here, and the other, somebody who's really made his home and feels that this is my deepest home for reasons I can never explain. So I hope you enjoy some or all of the three books I've written on Japan. I really appreciate your giving any time at all to them and bearing with this extremely clumsy, haphazard video audio presentation. And most of all, I very much hope you will come to Japan. You will not be disappointed. And I suspect you will find a level of thoughtfulness, kindness, grace, and zaniness beyond any you have seen elsewhere. It's really like another planet. So thank you for your attention, and thank you for supporting all of us who write books and who love to read them.